Hey Legionnaires, and welcome back with some more Rise of Mordor action for you today. And as you can probably tell from the title, this is a slightly different video that I'm doing today. A few people over the replays I've covered have asked to have like a faction overview or like a faction unit overview of of all the factions. But I'm only going to do a certain few for now, mainly because many factions are still like up for change and stuff like that. But like certainly I will be doing Gondor and Dale and probably Isengard as well. Certainly are the three that I can definitely probably say quite confidently are not going to get changed. Maybe Isengard will get maybe some wargs or something in the future if they ever get around to doing them. But apart from that, it's unlikely that many of their units are going to change. And that is like what I'm kind of taking from like the Rise of Mordor Trello, which I'll leave a link to in the description if you want to have a look at that and see what like plans they have for factions, future factions, what units are going to be added and which ones will be removed. But yeah, so here we are with the Dale unit overview. So yeah, I'm going to kind of just go over all the units in this in their roster and kind of recommend what I would use in a battle, what I wouldn't use. Probably at the end I'll do maybe like an army comp that I would probably use. Maybe to just like give you some sort of advice of what to use best for Dale, because it's a possibly seen as one of the weaker factions, but it's actually not that weak if you use it correctly. I feel like they've got some really good assets that you can use to win battles, whether it's a siege, whether it's a pitched battle. I certainly have some really fun times with this faction, probably one of my favorites. But anyway, we will get on with looking at the first units. The first unit here today, we're going to go through the swords, and then we're going to go through spears and infantry, etc. So, yeah, we'll quickly have a look at the shipmen, which are here. The shipmen, obviously, are the lowest tier swords available to Dale, and their melee attack is it's like pretty good. It's like 29, like you can see here. I've got the stats up, so if you want to have a look, the stats are all there. Melee damage is at 40. Their morale is okay at 48, and their armor is like not too bad as well at 70. Like nothing like amazing. But yeah, these shipmen are like very useful because they have javies. They have they're one of the few units in Rise of Mordor that I can think of that has a javelin ability. That's also a mainline infantry. Another one that comes to mind is the Winter Court guards for Dorwinion. But yeah, so these shipmen pretty damn cheap. They cost around about 700 coins to like purchase, and you're probably going to get like an okay unit that's probably going to be able to hold against lower tier stuff. Like if I used in comparison, maybe something against like Ringler Vale men at arms, it could hold against, and it can probably hold against like Uruk-hai scouts, because it is merely just it's a heavy melee, but it doesn't seem to act very much like a heavy melee like some of the other units that are available to it. So yeah. That's probably like some of the best. It's like one of the best units that you can get for a cheap amount, if you put it like that. Like same like as with Ringlow Vale men at arms, it is very useful for just maybe just cheap defense, or maybe just like a throwaway unit if you're going into a siege and you're wanting to like push up the towers. You send this unit in first to kind of basically take all the archer fire. So that is what I would recommend this unit for. Then the next unit I will be looking at here is the middle tier, the mainline infantry that you're probably going to be bringing as Dale, and that is the Dalian swords here, which are in their glorious armor, and yeah, they are a really cool unit as well. I mean, just look at the looks of them. This the armor is just amazing. Looks really good. But yeah, this is the unit you're most likely to be using as Dale. Like you're probably bringing this unit, and you're probably bringing the spear guards, which I'll come on to in a moment. But yeah. So these guys obviously not got the javies like the shipmen. They have a slightly better melee attack. You can see there with 37. Their melee damage is pretty similar at 40, and their armor is actually increased by 2290, as you can see with that armor. They do have a bit more of like a breastplate and like a proper helmet sort of going on. They've got like, and it's a nice big shield here as well. So I mean, they are well protected, these guys are, and their morale is significantly better as well at 58. And their health is also much better at 105. So they're pretty good, but they are like more heavily armored, so their speed is like down, and they don't have that javelin, which I mean some people do really like to use javelins, especially if you're like a fan of like Rome 2 or something like that. A lot of people like to use javelins in Rome 2, and if you're like quite comfortable with javelins in like say Rome 2, you probably quite like the shipman more than you would like this like the Dalian sword. But yeah, this is probably the unit you're going to have as your mainline infantry. and you're probably going to be bringing about 7, 8 of this unit, or maybe you might change out a couple of those for spears. It depends how you like to play your games, whether you like all swords or you like all to have some spears mixed in there. But yeah, you definitely want to be bringing some of this unit probably to the battle. The next unit, which you probably want to be bringing as well, is also probably this final unit, which is the sword, finishes off the swords for Dale, and that is the Vinland Guards. So this is a unit that also is available to Dorwinion. Dorwinion also have the Spear Paladins, which look very similar. They just have a spear instead of a sword. And yeah, the Vinland Guard basically you're probably going to be bringing as your general, most likely, or you're probably going to just be bringing, like, you can only bring 3 of these. So you're either bringing 1 as your general and then 2 like just as non-general units, or you're probably bringing all 3 as just your elite backbone. You're probably going to bring this unit, especially if you've got the funds. If you have the funds available, you want to be bringing these guys. These guys will rip to shreds. Probably most like mainline infantry, like your Gondorian swords, your Uruk-hai infantry, they actually do a lot of damage. And we'll quickly have a look at some of their stats to show that off. As you can see here, melee attack up at 44, so the strongest like sword unit in that instance. They are very heavy, and they are an elite unit, which compared to the shipmen and to the Dalian swords, who are just trained. And as you can see here, armor at 95, so they've got a little bit more armor than the Dalian swords, but not like masses, which shows that, like, for the Dalian swords price, which I'm pretty sure is about 1,000, they are like pretty good value for money. Well, I'm pretty sure the Vinland Guard are somewhere around like 1,200 or something like that, or a little bit more for your price. And so you're only getting a little bit more armor. Your health is also slightly increased at 120, like up by about 15. And the morale, though, is through the roof at 69. This is a unit that's going to be fighting to the death. It's going down to the last few men. It's not going to be leaving the battle early, unless it's got something to do with, like, maybe army losses or something like that. But yeah, and again, speed reduced a little bit, because it's a very heavily armored unit, so you expect no less. So yeah, this is a really cool unit to bring. You definitely want to bring in this unit, and I wouldn't want to be messing with it on the battlefield, put it like that. This unit is very nasty. But yeah, that is all of the swords. I am going to be moving on to the spears in a moment, so have a look at those. So yeah. So we will start off with probably the worst spears available to Dale, and they almost certainly are. This is the Spear Militia. Yeah, there's not much to say about it. Obviously, it's a militia unit, so it's a levy unit. It's pretty much not going to hold for long. I mean, their shields look really cool though. I still love, like, the detail they put into these, like, low tier units, even though like, they're probably not going to be standing around on the battlefield long or being brought. I don't obviously see, like, much low tier stuff for Dale being brought. Yeah, these are very light spear infantry. They're melee attack and stuff like that. You can see all their stats here. They are not looking too strong or anything. Morale's not too bad, and their health is not atrocious. But yeah, they are not a unit that's gonna be standing long on the battlefield. They might do okay against evil factions for a little bit, but certainly, like, against your Gondors and your Dol Amroths and people like that, they are going to just be routed very quickly. This is possibly a unit that you'll probably just bring in as a throwaway, again, maybe just to throw into a breach first, to just soak up that archer fire, or to push up a tower, or maybe it might be holding a choke point. I mean, if you put this unit in, like, shield wall, it probably could hold for a little while in a shield wall. Certainly if you're doing maybe like a battle of 5 armies and you have very little funds as Dale, you could bring this unit. It wouldn't be like the worst unit in the world to bring. But yeah, that is the Spear Militia. There's not much to say about them, really. Like, I don't see many people bringing this unit, and yeah, there's good reason for it. You just don't want to be bringing this unit at all. So yeah, I'm gonna quickly just move on to the next one, which is gonna be the second most like, I'd say worst, but at the same time it's also the second best spear unit available to Dale. It's the Watchpost Sentries. I have seen these guys brought a few times. They are actually a light spear infantry. They are actually the trained like spears for Dale, and they do look quite cool. But again, I don't often see these guys brought as Dale. I mean, I've seen them brought a few times, but like not often a lot. They're not a favorite unit by any means for those people that play as Dale. I find like these guys are just again just gonna break really quickly, as you can see here. Morale, I mean, it's at 48. It's a massive increase from the militia, But again, your melee attack and your melee damage, like you can see, the spear, like melee attack and damage in this game is significantly worse than the swords. You want to be bringing like swords to be getting those kills. Spears are merely just holding the line. So either you're probably not going to bring this unit because you want to bring, if you want a unit to hold the line, you want it to have good morale and health. I mean, the morale's okay and the health, I mean, 75 is pretty basic. So you may as well also bring a sword and put it in shield wall, which is kind of like, but it's a cheap unit. That's the thing. Dale's got very, very cheap units, so you can get away with bringing like a lot of this unit. For instance, if you're short on funds, if you're bringing, like, if it's a small funds game, you could bring Dale and you could have a very large army with very small amount of funds. But here is the final spear unit today, and this is the Dalian Spear Guards. This is the spear variant basically of the swords, Dalian swords. And this, like, as you can see here, melee attack at 34, you're already looking significantly better than you are at the Watchpost Sentries, who had like 26. So, and then melee damage is also at 30, which is again like not like amazing, but it's okay. Like at least like the melee attack is up. That is the main thing. And this unit as well has look at the armor and the health. It's so much better. 90 and 105. It is looking like this unit will hold for a long time, and yeah, there's no doubts of it breaking, put it like that. And morale again at 58, it is actually looking like it's going to hold for a long, long time. So, and this only costs about 1,000 as well to bring. This is like the same amount of money to bring as a sword unit, which begs the question: is it really worth bringing, or are you just better bringing swords? I personally think this unit is very much worth bringing, whether you're going to hold a choke point or whether you're bringing it on a pitch battle, because obviously then you've got as an anti-cav unit. Which I think it's very, very much needed for. I feel like spears are always going to need a place on the battlefield because there's always that threat of cav. Obviously there is shock infantry and there's polearms and pikes that can obviously counter cav as well. But spears are much more like mobile than polearms, and they're not at risk of like being charged by cav as badly as say shock infantry, which don't really have any protection to that. They're more of a like going into the combat with the cav once the cav's already embroiled in combat. The spears can almost brace the charge head on, and they can then they can deal the damage straight after. They don't need to rely on that shock infantry to arrive. So I feel like spears are always going to need a place on the battlefield. Like these guys, even though with they're basically the same price as the swords, and you're getting like less for your money, this unit is always going to be useful for cavalry, and that I think is the main thing to keep in mind when you're using it. You can see it's excellent armor, excellent melee damage, good missile block. It's a really, really good unit. It's only trained, so it's probably not going to like withstand to anything that is elite, but it's a trained unit, and it's, again, like I said, pretty cheap to bring, so I definitely worthwhile bringing it. So anyway, I am then going to move on to some of the more like just unique units that like Dale have before going on to the archers. So I'll go on to them in a moment. So here we are here with the Lake Town Guards. It's the only shock unit that is available to Dale. It is it's not a very like cost-effective shock infantry, I personally feel. It's 900. It's well, actually, you probably are getting what you get for your money. It's not like an amazing unit in like shock in comparisons to say like your Haven Guard and even like your Elven like shock infantry like the Hall Guardians and the Noldorian swords. It's well, it's much less in price. It's at 900, so you are getting like a very cheap shock infantry unit, which, I mean, in some cases, again, like that's what Dale kind of prides itself on, is like cheap but effective units. It's not going for like really, really pricey units like say maybe Gondor or Dol Amroth. You're getting like a very cost-effective army, which you can then like afford to then like maybe chevron up. So the the Lake Town Guards at 900, like one of the cheapest shock infantry in the game, I'm pretty sure, along with like the Warriors of Lozanark. It's a very, very cheap unit, but it is pretty good. It's got some pretty handy abilities available to it. It can form square if it needs to avoid cavalry from like charging it, and it can also like form, I believe, diamond as well, or something like that. Something like that. It's called or triangle. I'm pretty sure it's called. Get my shapes mixed up. To then obviously break at that front line of the enemy. It's a really, really good unit to use for like supporting in cav. So again, we will quickly have a look at some of their stats quickly. And yeah, again, melee attack at 41, which is massively better than any of like the sword units. Shock infantry obviously prides itself on melee attack and melee damage, which is at 50. With a big like polearm sort of like blade that they have there, they are able to do a lot of damage to any infantry. Basically, they can pierce that armor, and they get that, like I said, like that shock ability. And as you can see there, they're a medium shock infantry, so they are like, in comparison to other shock infantry in the game, they are probably some of the underdogs. They're some of the lightweights. They are not going to win any probably shock on shock fights unless like a Haven Guard or a Champions of Dol Guldur or a Grimhammer is significantly weakened. They're probably not going to win it. These units are much more heavily armored than the Lake Town Guards, and they are going to probably wipe the floor with them 9 times out of 10. Melee defense is at 34, which is like not bad, but it's again shock infantry. It's more of an attack. It's not going to like be able to hold that line for a long time. They've not got a great block chance because obviously they are, well, just holding a big sword or a big polearm in this case, so they've not got anything to shield themselves with. So that's why they're such a good unit for flanking with, or surrounding units with, or sending in along with another sword unit. Because then they have that kind of a bit of extra protection, or if they're flanking, then the enemy unit's probably got an attack order to attack the unit in front of it, not the Lake Town Guard, so they should come out with much less casualties. Their health is 105, which is not too bad. That's pretty similar to some of like the lower tier units, like the shipmen and things like that. I forgot, literally had a brain fart. I do apologize. The shipmen, they're like that sort of level of armor, which is kind of a bit of a shame because they do look like they're quite well armored. I mean, certainly around like their neck area, they look quite well armored. Again, morale is not too bad at 50. It's not like amazing though, and you are only getting a unit for 900, so you're not going to get like insanely great like morale, and it's only trained, so that is another thing to take into like thought when you're buying this unit, that you're not going to get like, it's only trained, it's not going to be like amazing morale, put it like that. But yeah, so we will then move on to the next unit, which is going to be their polearm unit. So the Dale has one polearm unit over here as well. This is the only like spear unit they have. Again, not a very expensive or like elite polearm unit. It is called the Vinland Watchman, as you can see there. And I love like the unique spears that they have. Looks really cool with like the woven staff, as I guess you call it, before you get to the blade. And the blade also looks amazing. It really does. But yeah, this is a unit again shared with with Dorwinian, sorry, being part of that like Ravanian like culture. And they both share that sort of culture. They both have similar units. And yeah, this is another trained unit, and as you can see, their armor is not like amazing, which we'll come on to first. At 30, they have a very poor missile block chance because of that weak armor, and also they're holding a pike, so they don't have any way of blocking an arrow if it comes in. And they're probably going to, if they get hit, they're probably going to go down. As you can see, they have very poor missile block and they have very poor armor. So yeah, this unit you need to be very careful with when you send it in. You need to make sure there are no archers nearby that are going to probably be taking this unit out. You're probably wanting to make sure that all archers are cleaned off the battlefield or are not in the area to get involved with pikes. But that's just usually the case with any pike unit, whether it's very elite or it's not. You probably are not going to be like sending your pikes in early game, otherwise they'll probably get destroyed very quickly by archer fire. Morale is at 44, so again, pretty low morale. But again, you're getting a unit for only about 700 coins, so you're probably not you're not going to get like the greatest morale for that money. That's kind of expected, and also pikes have very low morale typically because, well, if they get flanked, they break. If they get shot a lot, they break. That's just kind of part and part that comes with the pikes. But you do get a unit that obviously can force back choke points with their big polearm. And they can also change battles. They can like obviously destroy cavalry units if cavalry just charge into them. So they have very good uses. Obviously, as a pike, you can change battles with this unit, even though it's kind of on the weak side if you think about it. And then over here we have the Riverman, which is the only javelin unit. I thought I'd come to these guys. I put these guys with like the unique units. So you got the rivermen here, which look really cool. And again, don't often see javelins really used in Rise of Mordor. I've used them a few times in a few scenarios. But yeah, the rivermen, one of the few javelin units are like in Rise of Mordor. They consider there's a lot more archers, which is probably because like you've got factions like Elves and even like Dale that have lots and lots of archers. And but yeah, so Javies here, still quite a useful unit to be using if you have, again, very cheap. So again, if you are playing with low funds, bringing some javelins along, not a bad idea. These units are really good at obviously killing like cav and heavily armored units, because a javelin is very good at piercing armor, and it does a lot of damage. So as you can see here, they're like melee attack and melee defense are not very good. They're not supposed to be for going into combat. You may send them in at the end if you're desperate for numbers. But yeah, you're not expected to get like many kills. And morale also is pretty poor. This unit is levy, so as you can see, it's very poor in just about every category here. It's just mainly for throwing javelins. Once it's done that, it's got no further use really in the battlefield. Probably why no one really brings this unit, because they're not really got like any sort of like melee abilities or like or good in it, or good in melee to start with. So this unit, once it's thrown its javies, which only has 8 ammunition, they're kind of useless. So even though they're very cheap to bring, you'd rather spend your money, that money that you're going to spend on like rivermen, probably on archers. Like Dale has some pretty good cheap archers as well, and you probably better bringing them for more ammunition, and they're also maybe slightly better in melee. So yeah, this unit, I've kind of not been kind to it, but it probably is one of the weakest units that Dale really has available to it, is these rivermen. But yeah, there you go. They're kind of like, that is kind of like the end of all the unique units. I'm now going to move on to the archers, and there's a good wide selection of archers that Dale has to choose from. So I will show you them now. So here we are, we're here with the archers of Dale, and yeah, we are starting off with the weakest unit for Dale. Even though archers are probably their strongest point, we have one of their weakest unit here, which is the yeomen. The yeomen here are, like I said, probably their weakest unit, and they have, as you can see, very poor stats in, very poor missile block chance, very poor armor, very poor melee defense. As you can see, they're really poor, like just everything can stats really. Their health and armor is just really low. So if they get hit by an arrow, this unit is probably going down very quickly. But it can be used, obviously, to just basically bait in archer ammo. It can be used to just make the enemy use their ammo up. You got to just hit it to kill it. Obviously, like if it's a threat, it's on the battlefield. You can obviously, the archers of the enemy could just focus it down a little bit and kill this unit. But that's a win for you because they've used ammo up. So I feel like that certainly is a good use of this unit. Again, obviously, if you're very short on funds, definitely worth using this unit. This unit for morale is okay, but again, nothing amazing. And yeah, certainly I would want to use this unit over the rivermen, because like the unit has a longer range. Like rivermen have to get closer in range to get kills, and it has that more key important thing being more ammunition to use up and to fire into the enemies. At 24, accuracy is down at 7, so you're probably not going to hit much with that unit. We'll now move on to the next arch unit here, which is the Vinland Yard Patrollers. They have a lot more armor, as you can see here. They've got like their padded armor going on with their I love this like grape vine, or this is obviously a vine like emblem on there. It's a unit that is also shared with Dorwinian. Dorwinian obviously having that Ravanian sort of culture. Like share this unit with Dale. This is a slight improvement on the yeomen. These guys have a bit more armor, as you can see there with 25. They have a bit more health as well, so they can take a little bit more of a pronged skirmish, but they're probably still going to come out losing. Even though they're a trained unit, they're probably going to still lose this fight. They're the lower end of the trained like archers available to Dale. They have a little bit more accuracy, so they can obviously do a little bit more damage once they are firing. But yeah, so you probably want to use this against other infantry, not really against archers. You're probably not going to win an archer on archer combat with this this unit here. Though its morale is at 40, so it should hold for a little while in combat. Then the next unit here, which is the Marksmen of Dale. This is your main line infantry, or like archers probably. Like the Spear Guards and like the Dalian Swords, you can see they all have the same armor. That's the game telling you that this is like the main unit you want to be bringing to the battlefield. And as you can see here, look at like the gauntlets and stuff that these guys have. They look awesome, they really do. yeah, they're just amazing. Look at that detail put in. It looks really, really nice. Very, very impressive, like the armor for like the mod team did for this well, for this faction, and certainly like those 3 units especially, and like actually as well, the Dalian Cavalry regiment we'll come on to in a moment, having similar sort of armor as well. But that's kind of like the trained units all have this just similarity in armor, like Gondor. It looks really, really nice. Again, you can see here, this is probably one of the best money, like for like by like your. I'll start that again. What you're getting for your money is really, really good with this unit. It's like, it's amazing. It's a cost just under 900, and you're getting like all green. You're getting average accuracy, average armor, and average missile block, which is like, I know that doesn't sound great. That just sounds average. But this unit literally is like amazing in those things, because most units have like at least 1 negative. This has all 3 positives, and like that's just something. That is a really, really good thing to have with the unit. You can see morale there at 55 as well. Its armor at 55. Its health at 105. So it can take hits as well, like in combat, and also in a prolonged skirmish phase. So it can take on like maybe Gondor archers and do quite well against them. Its accuracy is at 33 as well. Not necessarily why I should get the name marksman, but it is quite a that's pretty good. Like a third of your shots are gonna hit. And probably do damage. That's, I guess, what you can take from that. Its missile block chance is not bad as well at 30, and yeah, its range and stuff and ammunition is still the same as everything else. But I think that's a really, it's a solid, like trained unit. It's a mid-tier unit to bring. That's a really good unit. The next unit, which I'm pretty sure is a rename, is the Rangers of Ravanian. I'm pretty sure they were called like something else. I may be wrong, they may have always been called this, but this is obviously like Dale's version of the Athelian Rangers. They have excellent accuracy, they have very poor missile block, very poor armor. As you can see, they have 2 negatives, while the Daily Marksmen have all 3 positives. That's such a, like, that's why I was just raving about that unit. I think it's just amazing in that instance. As you can see, its accuracy at 48 is very, very accurate. It's a very good unit to bring for that reason. It also can stay hidden for a very, very long time. Like the Athelian Rangers and like the Nimrodale Rangers, you basically have to get on top of this unit before you're going to find it. They can just hide in basically just plain sight, and yeah, but they are going to get, if they get hit by an archer, like by an enemy archer unit, they have only 15 armor and 90 health. So I mean, this unit's getting hit, it's going down. So that's why it needs to hide. So it's obviously very good to just like maybe keep on the flanks and like shoot and harass an enemy. You don't want to maybe in a front line skirmish if you like value this unit. It's a very expensive unit as well. It's about 1,000 for this unit. So you're spending a lot of money on a unit that obviously is like at risk of being just like vaporized by an enemy archer unit. Even like a mid-tier one, like the Yar Patrols or like the Dalian archers could do a lot of damage to it. But yeah, and then you have the most elite arch unit, probably one of the most elite arch units in the game, and oh my gosh, I love this unit. This is why Dale like is strong in archers, because of this unit. This unit, the Bardings here, I mean, just look at that unit. It looks majestic, really does. The armor, the helm, looks amazing. I mean, just even like the quiver. I mean, this is the same as like the one on the Marksman of Dale, but like that quiver, I mean, look at the detail on that. It looks amazing, really, really does. But we'll have a quick look at its stats. It's got 44 melee attack. It's got 40 melee damage. It's got 44 melee defense. It's going to do really well in combat. This unit is like one of the few, if probably the only, like melee hybrid units that is available in like Rise of Mordor. I know 1212 have plenty, but this is probably like the closest thing that like Rise of Mordor has to that sort of thing. This unit literally, yeah, it can do really well in both instances. So it costs 1,200 bring, which is a lot of money to spend on an arch unit, but you're also getting, in my opinion, a pretty damn good like melee unit as well. Like if this unit's run out of ammunition, you can then just throw it into combat, and that's like helped me so many times in many a battle in the past. It's 69 morale, so this unit's also not breaking till like it's got no men left. It's a really, really good unit to bring. You obviously can focus this unit down quite a bit. You can still, like, it will die, but you have to put a lot of ammunition to killing this unit. It's got 95 armor, 225 health. This unit, yeah, it takes a lot to kill it, basically. So you're putting a lot of ammunition in to kill one unit of Bardings, which obviously then you could really be using on other stuff like cavalry, generals, pikes, whatever. So yeah, it's like, what do you risk just wasting all your ammo just to kill one of these units? It's a really, really cool unit to use, and yeah, wouldn't like 100% recommend if you're playing Dale, bring this unit. It's such a good unit. And then we'll move on to the cavalry. So yeah, here we have the cavalry, which they're pretty damn good. I'm not gonna like, some of them are anyway. We'll start off with the worst. And this unit is not so good, but it has got its uses. This is the Northman Scout, as you can see here, very lightly armored, just basically woken up and gone to battle and just got their sword. They've basically just woken up in whatever they were in, got on a horse and gone, yeah, we're going to war. This is the levy unit, obviously, for the cavalry, as you can see, in what they're kitted out in. They've not got any really that great stats. I'd say like maybe their speed is probably their best stat there with 100, which is actually quicker than an old Dorian equestrian, which has 90 speed. Its melee defense is okay, being at 40, being a very light melee cav, like I guess it's got to have some pretty good melee defense. Its health's okay, but like it's got no armor, so you already like, if this thing gets hit, it's probably going down straight away anyway. But the only good thing about this unit is it can go into a guerrilla deployment, and it's able to then obviously like spawn anywhere on the map. It doesn't have to spawn in your deployment, so you can spawn it like behind the enemy lines and just then attack maybe like catapults or archers or stuff like that. So it's very useful for that sort of thing. So it's like a guerrilla unit, a harassment unit. That's kind of what I'd be using it for. So it's a very useful unit in its own ways, but you won't want to be using this in the front line battles. It's more like like I said, like some attack stuff, weak units in the back. And then the second unit that we have is this unit here, which is another melee cav unit, which is the Merchant Escorts, which is also available to dwarves, I believe, and maybe also Dorwinian as well, but certainly is available to the dwarves. And yeah, this unit's okay. I mean, you can see here it's got very poor missile block chance, but it's got good armor and it's got good melee defense. Its melee defense is pretty good at 38, but I'm pretty sure that is lower than these guys. Yeah, it's actually lower than the Northland Scouts. So why they've got good melee defense, I'm not quite sure exactly. But there you go. Their armor's at 70, so they actually have some armor, unlike the Northman Scouts. They also have some pretty decent health as well, 175. So they can take a few hits from archers or like from infantry in combat. Their charge bonus is at 50, so this unit probably doesn't want to be charging in to combat against like infantry. You probably want to be leaving that to your shot cavalry, like it's just melee cav. You're really wanting this thing to be probably going in against other cavalry and combating with cavalry there, and just chopping away at them, because that is where you're going to get the damage done with this unit. You don't want to be charging in straight away though. You want to like send in maybe shock cavalry against the opponent's cavalry, and then you want this going in as the second wave. And its speed's also pretty good at 85, sorry, and then its morale at 48. It's also not too shabby itself. It's like going to hold for a little while. And then we've got the next unit here, which is the Dalian Cavalry Regiment, which again is kitted out in that similar sort of like armor of the red, the gold, the silver. Looks awesome, really does. Just can't get over that armor, like style looks really good. And but yeah, we'll quickly have a look at this one's stats. It's got 41 melee attack. It's got 36 melee damage, and there we go, 100 charge bonus. This thing is like, if it hits an infantry unit, that infantry unit's not getting up. It's got some really good charge bonus. It's yeah, it's going to do a lot of damage. It's a heavy shot cavalry. I expect no less from it. It's trained. It's pretty damn good. Its armor's at 90, and it's got a health of 210. So again, it can take archer fire, which is another massive plus to it. Morale's at 58, so it's probably not going to break. It's very low on infantry, like very low on numbers as well. And the speed's at 70. It's not too bad for Dale Cavalry Regiment, even as a heavy unit. Like 70 speed's not too bad. It's only slightly shy of the Elven, like cavalry, which is probably some of the quickest heavy cavalry in the game. We then got Ravanian Regents here, which are the elite cavalry available to Dale. As you can see there, look at this unit, looks awesome, really does. The units look amazing for Dale. Like the mod team did an amazing job on them. But yeah, their melee attack at 48, their melee damage at 36. They've got charge bonus of 120. They are about 300 or so like coins more expensive than the Dale Cavalry Regiment. So I don't know whether this is really worth it. You're also limited to one of this unit, so you can either bring it as a general or you can bring it as a command unit. So yeah, like it depends whether you think it's worthwhile to bring. I personally think it is. I think it's a really good unit, especially when it's 69 morale. It's not going to break anytime soon. Its armor, it's a 95. It's a slightly better armor, and it's got slightly better health. But I certainly think it's certainly worthwhile bringing. I think you get like a lot of benefit out of it. I think 20 more like charge bonus is pretty good. You're gonna again knock down a unit of infantry and it's not going to be getting up. But yeah, there are all the infantry and arch units that are like for the Dale roster. I'll probably now go on to like showing you some of the like rosters that I'm going to build for like tournaments. So if you're playing a tournament or a siege or something like that, just give you some idea on like maybe some like give you some ideas on what to play with Dale, or what I play with anyway when I play with Dale. If you don't watch my battle replays. But yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed looking at all these, and I will now probably go to like the army builder. So I'll see you there. So we are back on like in the army builder for Rise of Mordor. So you can now have a look at there are all the units I've just showed off to you. You've got various different generals available to you as Dale. You have the Ravanian Regents, you have Vinland Guards, you have Bardings, and you have Lake Town Guards, all available as generals. And like I mentioned, you could bring the Ravanian region as a command if you chose to. So I'm going to use the funds of 15,000 for now, because that is what I'm doing currently on my Discord. We are doing a tournament there, and the funds are 15,000 available. So I'm going to quickly do like a quick roster of what I would probably bring if I was to play with this amount of money. And I would probably be starting off with my general. And there's a few generals available to you. And I'm probably going to bring the Vinland Guard as a general. It's a solid infantry unit that can form square. Not form square, it can form shield wall. It's got encourage, and it's like pretty damn good. It's got poor stamina though, as it mentions there, but it's pretty damn good and everything else. Disciplined, it's got encourage, it can hide in a forest. That's always useful to hide in the forest. So yeah, I'd probably bring the Vinland Guard as a general. I would probably then go on to spend my money on some Dalian swords. With my 15,000, probably bring about 5. And then I would probably go on to bring some Marksman Dale, which are just under 900. I thought they were a nice round number, but they're 875. So I'm probably going to bring some of these guys. And then I'm probably going to bring, because in my current tournament their limit is 4 cav, so I'm probably going to bring some Dalian Cavalry Regiment as my cavalry here. I probably wouldn't bring the shock infantry, sorry. The Lake Town Guards. I don't think they're personally that great. I would probably like use these Marksman Dale, but as you can see, 15,000. You don't. I personally don't think you get the best out of Dale. It's like an okay unit, like faction, but like even like cheap units, you're probably going to get beaten by, I don't know. You probably get beaten by Elves and probably by polearm off. But I think Dale, has got a very good like ability. I could even change actually some of these. I could put some of those, some more Vinland Guard in. That probably actually is a sterner force. That's probably much more elite. And then you could upgrade your cavalry for like the little bit of money that you have left. Just put a couple of chevrons in there, and then another one there on your general, just to make them stand a little bit longer. But that's actually probably a little bit better. Dalian swords and some Vinland Guards. I mean, these Vinland Guards then will probably just take on just about any Dolhamroth like swords. And probably win. Maybe not the dismounted Knights of Imrahil, but they'll take on anything else. Dolhamroth and Gondor are certainly good comparisons, being other men factions, certainly. Archers, I personally think you do fine with these Marksman Dale. Like I said, they probably go toe-to-toe quite easily with Gondor archers, which is probably what your opponent would probably bring with these funds if they were playing against Gondor. And cavalry does okay. You could obviously sacrifice another. You could sacrifice a Vinland Guard, and you could bring another cavalry if you wanted to. But I think 3 cavalry would be okay to use. But what I typically play with is 20,000 if I'm doing like all those. You see all those sieges that we cover on the channel. We play with about 20,000 funds, which I mean, 15,000 is what you get for if you're defending. So I guess that's kind of similar. You probably wouldn't bring as much cav if you were defending. But if we were playing with 20,000, I would bring a much more elite army, and it's where I really like to play with Dale at 20,000. I think they are a really fun faction to play at that sort of money. And I would start off again with Vinland Guard General, but then I'm going to go straight down here because this is instantly what I always do when I'm playing Dale. I go 1, 2, 3, and you bring Bardings. All the Bardings available to you. You then bring a 4th archer. So we usually play with 4 archers as a rule, and you bring a Marksman of Dale. You then probably bring a couple of cavalry regiments, and only probably 2 if we're doing sieges. If we're doing a land battle, I would probably bring maybe another one, and then there we go, as a command. Because I probably want to bring that Ravanian region. Even though you get a smaller unit, it's very damn good, like I mentioned. I then probably bring the Dalian swords. Probably bring about 4 of those maybe, and then I'd probably bring 2 Vinland Guards, and then I would bring some Lake Town Guards to the party. I think they're not too bad to bring at 20,000. Like you're getting some sort of like worth out of them. Certainly in a land battle, very, very useful to use because you can support your cavalry. You can then get the cavalry out of combat. You can leave the Lake Town Guards to fight the opponent's cavalry. You could then bring Vinland Watchmen. I'd rather not. I'd probably actually upgrade stuff. Or I would probably sacrifice maybe another Vinland Guard, and then I could just bring a Lake Town Guard. That's another alternative. And then you could bring a Dalian Sword. Another one. And that's probably actually a pretty good army. That's what I probably would bring. For a land battle, I'd probably, like I said, for a siege, probably sacrifice one of my Dalian Cavalry Regiment, because I usually attack. Even if I was defending, I'd probably would sacrifice probably one, and I could probably bring another Dalian Sword, and you would then be able to just upgrade a few little things. Maybe your Bardings, for instance, you bring, put a few chevrons in these guys, and then maybe your General as well. Like something like that. That would be a perfect army for a siege, or would be. Again, it's up to you. Lake Town Guard you can change out, like I said. You can then put in Vinland Guard instead. Very much up to you on your taste, whether you like, from experience, like the Lake Town Guards, or from like your experience, you hate them. I think they've got their uses, like I said, like supporting cavalry fights and stuff like that. So it's very much up to you. But that is where I'm going to wrap up this video, this Dale unit overview. I hope it's been quite useful to you. I know some of you have been asking for like a sort of a faction overview on these things, so I'm gonna do a few more, like I said, on Isengard and Gondor, so keep an eye out for them. And if you've enjoyed this one, do remember to leave a like, subscribe if you're new around here, and a comment to show your support. And until next time, Legionnaires, I will see you in the next one.